And every fourth Tuesday, I'm sorry. And on Tuesdays, we have our work session at 3:00, and then at 6:00, we have the town board meeting. And we thought this would be a little more efficient way to run business. So if you would all join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Linda, any correspondence?
There is none to report at this time.
Okay. And we will. Okay, then we will start with setting some public hearings. Meg, you want to start us off?
Whereas Keith A. Granite, 11 Hillside Drive, has petitioned the town of Shelter Island for permission to install a mooring at the West Neck Bay near Hilo Dock at a location designated as latitude 41.065179 degrees north and longitude 72.363569 west. Now therefore be it resolved that pursuant to section 90-5 of Code of the Town of Shelter Island, the town board hereby calls for a public hearing to be held at 6:10 p.m. prevailing time on the 16th day of August, 2022, for all interested persons to be heard in favor of or in opposition to the proposed application. So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Whereas Bruce Hopkey at 43 West Neck Road has petitioned town of Shelter Island for permission to relocate a mooring designated as W3137 from a location off Simpson Road to a location designated as latitude 41.064698 degrees north, longitude 72.36350 degrees west. Now therefore be it resolved that pursuant to section 90-5 of the Code of the Town of Shelter Island, town board hereby calls for a public hearing to be held at 6:12 p.m. prevailing time on the 16th day of August, 2022, for all interested persons to be heard in favor of or in opposition to the proposed application. So moved.
Second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Whereas pursuant to chapter 33 of the Shelter Island Town Code, Jonathan Solomonzadeh, 338 Berry Street, 2E, Brooklyn, New York, has requested permission as application dated April 30th, 2020, to hold a ceremony of marriage on Crescent Beach on September 18th, 2022. And whereas the required fees have been submitted now, therefore be it resolved that the town board does hereby approve permission for said marriage ceremony. So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Whereas Stephen Searle, on behalf of Sylvester Manor, 80 Northbury Road, Shelter Island, New York, has filed an application for an outdoor assembly permit to hold a charitable event to be held on July 31st, 2022, from 5 to 8 p.m. for approximately 200 attendees and approximately 100 vehicles. Whereas the required fees have been submitted, whereas said applicant has requested an exemption from the noise ordinance, and be it resolved that said request is hereby granted. So moved.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye.
The family, on behalf of Shelter Island Democrats, has filed an application for an outdoor assembly permit to hold a social gathering event to be held on August 4th, 2022, from 4:30 to 6:30 p.m. at Wade's Beach Pavilion for approximately 100 attendees and approximately 40 vehicles. And whereas the required fees have been submitted, and whereas the said application has been referred to the police department and the highway department for recommendations. And whereas the police department has responded that there is no anticipated need for police services, and whereas the highway department has responded that all markings in street must be washable, there must not be any obstructions on the road during the event, and all garbage must be picked up in the area. Therefore, be it resolved that said request is hereby granted. So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Whereas Tom Hossagen, on behalf of the Shelter Island Recreation Department, has filed an application for an outdoor assembly permit to hold a beach party event to be held on August 10th, 2022, from 4:30 to 7:30 p.m. for approximately 50 attendees and approximately 25 vehicles. And whereas said applicant has requested an exemption from the noise ordinance, and whereas said application has been referred to the police department and highway department for recommendations, and whereas the police department has responded that there is no anticipated need for police services, whereas the highway department has responded that all garbage must be picked up in that area following the event, be it resolved that said request is hereby granted.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye. Whereas the town of Shelter Island currently has 3 elected town assessor positions. Whereas since December 17th of 2021, there has been 1 vacancy. Whereas assistance is required to prepare the assessment roll for 2023, among other things. And whereas the town board is seeking to hire a consultant to assist in the completion of said assessment role and perform other ancillary functions. And whereas William McCoy expressed interest in being such a consultant and found to be extremely qualified, and now therefore be it resolved that William McCoy is hereby hired as an assessment consultant for the hourly rate of $43.96, not to exceed 35 hours. And be it further resolved that the town supervisor is hereby authorized to sign any and all documents in connection therein. So moved.
Second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Whereas pursuant to town law, section 64E12, town board must perform an annual audit for the Community Preservation Fund. Whereas the town board is desirous of performing audits for the years 2020 and 2021. And whereas the town board wishes to validate the 2019 ending balances. And whereas Craig Fitzsimmons and Meyer LLP is an accounting firm that has experience conducting such audits. Now, therefore, it resolved that the town board hereby retains the accounting firm of Craig Fitzsimmons and Meyer LLP to perform audits to the Community Preservation Fund for the years 2020 and 2021 for a fee of $10,250 per year to validate the 2019 ending balance for a one-time charge of $2,500. And be it further resolved that the town supervisor is hereby authorized to sign any and all documents in connection therewith. So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Right.
Whereas on March 15th, 2022, the town board authorized the town supervisor to enter into a memorandum of understanding with Online Mooring LLC to process Shelter Island Town mooring applications online. Whereas the town supervisor executed the subject memorandum of understanding on April 18th, 2022. Whereas pursuant to the subject memorandum of understanding, there is a $6 fee charged by Online Mooring LLC per new application renewal and a 3.75% plus 30-cent fee for credit card payments. And now therefore be it resolved that both the $6 new application fee and renewal fee and the 3.75% plus 30-cent fee for credit card payments, if applicable, charged by Online Mooring LLC shall be borne directly by the Online Mooring applicants. So
One second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Be it resolved that the 2022 budget modification is hereby approved. $37,380 from the Waterways Fund balance to the A5710.400 Waterway Management account. And be it further resolved that the supervisor is hereby authorized and directed to expend the sum of $37,380 from the A5710.400 Waterways Management account to Crowley Marine, PO Box 618, Greenport, New York, 11944 for the installation of floating docks and pilings in Congans Creek and Volunteer Park. So moved.
Second,
All those in favor?
Aye.
be resolved that 2022 general claims numbered 1016 through 1135 in the amount of $94,749.71. 2022 highway claims 111 through 121 in the amount of $20,807.05. And 2022 West Neck water claims numbered 11 in the amount of $338.86 are hereby approved for payment as audited. And the supervisor and or any town board member is hereby authorized and directed to sign the approval for payment of same. So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, at this time, we're going to recess the public meeting and reconvene the public hearing on the Burge Waterways application. And if you're looking at your agenda, we're a little out of order because the first public hearing isn't scheduled until 6:24. So we'll start with the ones that we're going to reconvene. So,
Yeah.
Jim, you want to give us a report on the water?
Sure. This is a neighbor of mine across the street that by a vote of 6-0, it was just basically a repair job on that. So there was no,
The jetty.
yeah, on the jetty, yeah.
Okay, any comments from anybody on the Burge application?
The Burge.
Richard Burge, this is
It's 92 Peconic Avenue.
bottom of the first page, because it's reconvened, it didn't have a time. So we're doing it now because we're a little ahead of schedule for the 6/24 public hearing.
Okay, so if there's no comments from the audience, we're going to close that hearing. We're going to open the hearing.
Reconvene, that's typo. Right.
Reconvene the public hearing on 42 Gardeners Bay special permit and wetlands application.
Okay.
We're waiting for any reports from WMAC or anybody.
Let's see.
When I went back and watched the meeting from July 1st, I wasn't here for it.
Yeah.
There was information that we were expecting from Don Bennett. So we have been emailed that information. So if there's nothing from the public, we could go ahead and close it and then be able to take it up at our next work session to discuss.
Was there any comments on the 42 Gardeners Bay special permit and wetlands application? Yes, sir. You come up. Yep, come up, Howard.
I'm Howard Johansson from CAC. Just want to make sure that you have our report from the last meeting. To Gardeners Bay. Yeah.
Let's check.
Make sure we've gotten it.
Yeah, on the July 11th meeting this month, it was, when we talked about, review wetlands applications, it was NA, that we didn't have it. We had it before that. We had it back in June and May, but we didn't discuss that particular application this go around. I have the agenda right in front of me. It wasn't on the agenda.
The last works.
What's the date on it?
The date on this is July 11th. That wasn't on the agenda. Yeah. And it wasn't on the June agenda, but it was
back on, back on April.
it was back,
Did we get a report?
yeah, a while ago.
Pretty sure I saw it when I was.
Back on April 11th.
It's April.
Yes, 42 Gardeners Bay Drive. There were actually 5 recommendations that were made: install a low flow water pump, provide automatic pool cover, submit vegetation plan in accordance with 129-4.1A4, bring grandfathered irrigation system up to present code, including cistern. And actually, there were 4 recommendations. The vote was 7-0 based on those 4 recommendations.
I have that, Howard.
Okay.
And we went over that at the hearing. Is anybody here from 42 Gardeners Bay? Billy, is that you?
Yep.
Yeah.
Bennett and Reed.
Okay. And Mike?
I think we had addressed the comments that were raised by the CAC at the last meeting. Our client had agreed to install an automatic pool cover. We had submitted a vegetation plan with the board prior to the hearing. And I think we all had gone over the requirement that we will be required to abandon our grandfathered irrigation system. What we had requested was to maintain our existing well. And that was the information that the board had requested that we submit. So by correspondence dated July 11th, we had filed confirmation as to the depth of the existing well and the depth of the static water within the well. I would ask that the applicant be able to maintain their existing well with the current well pump that's there.
Okay, and if memory serves me, we had the discussion about mandating an IA system, but because we don't have that in place, we were going to discuss it for future permits.
That was on.
There is an IA system that's proposed as part of this application.
Okay. There was one that was.
Oh, that's down the bottom. Yeah, right. Okay. All right, good.
So they satisfied this.
Okay, so we will close the hearing and we'll pick it up Tuesday?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, thanks for coming, guys.
Thank you.
Anybody else on this one? 42 Gardeners Bay?
The next one. Yeah.
Okay, we're gonna close that one and open the hearing on the Valentino Wetlands application. We need a CAC report. Valentino?
Again. Waterways. So some of them are done by address and some of them are done by last name, so. Explain.
It's 8 Osprey Road.
Yeah, yes.
Have the address?
No, I don't.
8 Osprey.
8 Osprey it is?
Yes.
So that's helpful.
Any Osprey. That again, we gave a complete report, there were 3 items on that. One was to,
Pardon me? This one.
one was to relocate the proposed generator outside the 100-foot line. The second one was to, that when the existing, I think it's a 20-year-old AC unit gets replaced or needs replacement, then that would be moved down 100 foot.
Correct.
And then I think the clean out for the IA system above the 100-foot line, those 3 items.
Okay.
Okay, I got a text from Matt Sherman, who's the engineer on this project, and he thought he would be here on time, but the flight hasn't left Florida because of the weather. So he's not going to be here for this meeting, so I don't know if we.
Probably adjourn it.
Yeah.
All right, any comments on this one before we adjourn? Okay. Gonna adjourn that one. And we have 4 minutes before we can, 5 minutes before we can open the hearing on the Brownie Waterways application. You got your time, fellas? I guess we could take a 5 minute.
Yeah. All right, that'd be great.
Make a motion.
Make a motion, we take a 5 minute recess.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
John, need them on the floor.
I don't see him.
Who's handling this one?
Brownie, Brownie, you mean?
County, yes.
We're just gonna adjourn that.
It's not reviewed yet.
Well, yeah, so John will contact the applicant, needs clarification on a bunch of things.
Yes, and then he wrote us today. I think he did, John did. And here it is, Jim, John wrote us.
Okay, we'll call this meeting back to order and we will open it for the public hearing on the Brownie Waterways application. Actually, this one we're not gonna get into because the paperwork hasn't been handed in yet.
Yeah, just a footnote on that. John Needham, who's the chairman of the WMAC, has been in touch with Mr. Brownie and informed him of the two things that needed to be done. The first thing being the 60 feet was too much. No, you're right. And the change in size of the float. We're going to a 30-foot float with an L configuration. And the second thing was that the survey with setbacks to the property was needed. So John has been in contact with Mr. Brownie. He knows what needs to be done. So that is basically it.
So because we opened this, Linda, let's read the.
Okay.
Yeah.
Jeremy Brownie, 2 Tar Kettle Road, has petitioned the town of Shelter Island for permission to construct a 4-foot by 68-foot catwalk to 2 3-foot by 12-foot hinged ramps, 1 5-foot by 15-foot float, and 1 5-foot by 25-foot float, excuse me, in Monantic Creek.
And that basically was the report.
Okay.
So it's on hold.
So we're gonna adjourn that, this one, so we can get all the paperwork in.
Yep.
Okay, 6:27.
Who's up next?
6:27.
We have 2
I
minutes.
know the time.
English, yes.
English?
One
Okay.
more minute.
That's like, that's up one.
Just for future reference, we are switching up our times. Our public hearings that we set earlier start at 6:10, so we won't run into this problem again. A little learning curve on the new scheduling. Sorry about that.
I think you feel important.
This is.
Yeah, this is all too.
Okay. We're gonna open a public hearing on the English Waterways application. Linda, could you read the notice?
Errol English, 6G Hager Road, has petitioned the town of Shelter Island for permission to remove existing ramp and 6-foot by 20-foot floating dock, install a new 32-foot by 20-foot aluminum ramp leading onto a new 6-foot by 20-foot floating dock section. Repurpose existing 6-foot by 20-foot floating dock to form an L configuration and reset existing 2 piling and install a 3-foot wide access stairs on landward side of the existing dock.
We met on July 11th, the WMAC did, by a vote of 6-0. They approved this application. Notice that Jack Costello was there. He's the installer of this. This is not a walkable beach, therefore no steps were needed. And the overall length of the dock was reduced by 8 feet. So obviously they were, anytime something's been reduced in size, WMAC usually endorses it. That was it.
Okay. Jack, did you want to speak to this one at all?
No, guys, I'm good with whatever you feel.
I think it's pretty black and white. Okay. Any comments from the audience on this one? Okay, I don't see anything, so we'll close that hearing and we will open the hearing on the Nelson White Estate UPF acquisition. Linda?
Pursuant to a recommendation from the Community Preservation Fund Advisory Board, the town board is desirous of purchasing lots 4, 5, 6, 8, and 9 of the final subdivision plat. Nelson White Estate as a 50% partner with the County of Suffolk for passive recreational use. 20.1 acres between South Monantic Road and West Neck Creek, Shelter Island, New York, more specifically identified as Suffolk County Tax Map Number 700-Section 22-Block 2-Lots 5.11, 5.12, 5.13,
5.15, and 5.16. And that the total purchase price of the subject parcels is
11,100,000, yes.
11,100,000, and the town's contribution will be 5,550,000 to be paid with the community preservation funds.
Okay, legally, we have to have a public hearing on this before we can accept lands. Gordon Gooding's going to make a presentation for the Community Preservation Fund. I just want to say that this is probably the most significant purchase we've made in Shelter. Gordon and the crew have been working on it for years. This has not been an easy process. It's a very significant purchase, Gordon.
Thank you. Mr. Supervisor, I was advised before I came to the podium from my family that's here that not to pick up a microphone and not to be too long. It's on my cars.
Good luck with that.
We got the signal here. So I'm going to try to be as brief as I can. I guess I'd like to just start off with this property that you mentioned, it does meet the community preservation goal. Just to review it, okay, through 64E, okay. The microphone.
So we got it.
You're on the discs.
So the preservation character, it meets one or more of the following items, okay, it's establishment of parks, natural preserves, preservation of open space, preservation of lands of exceptional scenic value, preservation of freshwater, saltwater marshes and other wetlands, preservation of the aquifer, recharge areas, preservation of undeveloped beachland, shoreline, including those that are significant of coastal flooding due to projected sea level rise and future storms, establishment of wildlife refuge for purposes of maintaining native animal species diversity, including the protection of habitat essential to the recovery of rare and threatening species, preservation of unique and ecological areas and lands necessary to protect fisheries and water dependent uses that maintain the heritage. I just thought it was important because so many times people want to know what does preservation do and what are the format for it, okay? The thing that I just like to go through, okay, is that yes, it is 20.1 acres of preserved land. Perhaps, Coco, you could put that one slide up, okay, of the location of the land. Okay.
Is it the one with the walking trail on it?
Yeah.
Coco, if you give me the screen share, I got it.
That's why it's came up right there.
Just the one you wanted? Oh,
She's having trouble. Yeah, she's having trouble getting it on the big screen.
the permission.
Let me just, I'm gonna.
Okay. While you're doing that, okay, just to review this with preservation, I don't know whether I'm not going to address the people here or whether they're addressing here. So
You address here.
Yeah.
Go this way. You know, when we preserve property, okay, we obviously take a lot of things into consideration. And one of them, okay, we do have an engineering report. Just when that property was done by our town engineer, which basically we're concerned about reviewing the property and the value of what it's to besides just open space, okay? I'm just going to take a couple of excerpts out of the engineering report, which basically said the site is 100% wooded, which it is, okay? The site is practically void of all invasive growth, so it's not something that we have to go in. We have to do anything with the family. In the last couple of years and maintain the property, so it's really it's a turnkey for preservation. So our maintenance issues will be minimal at best. It's located in a very strategic and a very fragile area in the Mid-Atlantic Peninsula, okay, where water quality and water amount of water has been in jeopardy. Okay, so I think this does those things, okay, that are necessary. Another interesting thing that we did come about when we were looking at the land. It's just a statistic, okay? The island annual water demand is for 252 million gallons of water, okay? This site, according to the report, was that the recharge was going to be 20,734,578 gallons of water annually per year. What was interesting is it turned out to be about 8% of the island annual water demand. So it really has significant water recharge. So I'm just giving you a little story about how property fits with the with preservation. Okay. By obviously sellers always have an opportunity of doing something else with property. Okay. In this case, we were very fortunate to have the White family who have been on the island a long time, who wanted to have this property put into preservation. Okay, so this property could have been something different. It could have been more houses. It could have been more draw on our fragile water. It could be more septics in the West Bay area, and plus the groundwater. So this property, Matt, it checks all the boxes in terms of being the right property. And I think that the town will be very proud, and I think the residents will be proud later on to have had this acquisition. It really certainly adds a lot, okay? And it's probably one of the ones that it also does, besides water quality, we always talk about drinking water and fresh water. Well, here we have the bay, okay? So it's right up on the waterfront. So again, it will help maintain the quality of the water for fishing and crabbing and all the other good things that everybody comes here for. I guess I want to just say one last thing, okay? And I guess it has to deal with a little of the history of the White family. I guess since 2018, or maybe even earlier than that, this is when we started to discuss this whole thing of land acquisition. Learned a lot about the White family, okay? 100 years plus being on the island, which I did not know. The grandfather, Henry Cook White, was the original purchaser of the property. There are 3 generations there's multiple generations of Whites. There's a lot of Whites running around, okay? But the earlier generation, they were really artists. Little did we know, and I'm sure the town board may not have known. So in there, 3 generations of people. Even George White himself, okay, was the founder of the Eugene O'Neill Theater Group in Connecticut. So we really have a very artistic group of people who come forward and were greatly involved in environment. And I think they really deserve a lot of credit for, since they have everybody has other opportunities, but their goals were really for environmental. So I hope that we can pursue this and finally put this to rest, okay? So this will be part of open space. And on a personal note, thank you to the White.
Thank you, Gordon. Gordon, you mentioned recharge and you mentioned surface water, but it's also a very fragile aquifer area.
Yep.
And the potential to build, 6 houses there, they might find water, but in the long run, they're going to affect the whole peninsula. So again, this was a much needed purchase for the town. And to the White family, we know that, in today's market, you could have went out and subdivided it, your son sold it and made a ton of money. But I guess with your history of Shelter Island, we really do appreciate, you're working with us. Thank you.
Keep things in perspective. If you take it into account, Mashamek's 2,039 acres, Sylvester Manor, and now over 24 CPF properties across the island, we are now up to about preserving 32% of the island so far. 32%. We're just that close to it being about a third protected. So that's a feather in your cap, especially for the committee. The other thing I wanted to mention is, I would commend all four players. Obviously, it starts with the White family. It starts with the CPF committee and Gordon's leadership and the entire committee and the stick-to-itiveness of staying with us. But I also have to thank Suffolk County for bending a little bit. That thing called passive recreational use was something that was a tough nut to crack. But I also want to thank the town board, but I particularly want to thank our town attorney, Stephen Kiley, because, Stephen behind the scenes did an awful lot of work at the tail end of this to make this happen. And I think if honestly, and it's just one person's opinion, but if it wasn't for him, I think, dealing, it might not have happened. So I'm really appreciative to Steve for having done that. And that recharge is huge. 8% of your water, annually, almost 21 million gallons of water every year. That's nothing to sneeze at. And so it was a win-win-win for everybody. And I thank you for, hanging in there with this thing. And this is a major step forward for us. It's something that we desperately wanted to do, and we wanted to make sure that all 5 parcels were part of this purchase. And rather than piecemeal them. So we got that back together with lots 3, 4, and 5 and 8, 9. And thank you to the White family very much for coming around and helping us make this deal come through. Thank you.
Okay. Anybody in the public want to say anything? Anybody from the White family want to? Howard, come on up.
I'm Al Johnson of CSC. And I just like to recommend that we say great things about the White family, giving us this opportunity. The town's sticking with it. Gordon and his whole committee working. We've been looking at this. I live in the peninsula, Montclair, Holland, and our well is basically, I think, 70 feet south of the entrance to this property, which is one of the wells on the Water Advisory Committee that keeps going up and down, up and down. We don't know why. So this is going to save us a lot of headaches in the peninsula community. And they would like to thank everybody for getting this property done after we've been worried about it for 5, 6 years, what was going to happen. So, and another thing about the infrastructure here, which doesn't usually get mentioned, is the power. Now, 5 houses on Shelter Island, what could be built here, and the size of them, 5 pools, which are topped off usually from our aquifer. The power is a serious item on the island. We had that failure, and we had it 5 years ago. And tomorrow, the ESEG is having an open Zoom session on what they're doing for the island. They have to do that every year, basically, and give it to the LIPA, who then gives it to the Department of Energy of the state of New York. And it's very interesting. They basically have said that they're looking at storm hardening, which means trimming the trees, which they've been doing a lot. Yeah. But we haven't had any cable placed in many years. And I think the town should approach them in some method. Advice. I know we don't have anything to do with the installation. I asked Joe Venora about it. He has no.
Oh, they did it. They did a hardening. They did a major hardening. That's what they raised all the lines. That was part of their hurricane.
Yeah, that portion, but there are certain areas that went back.
Right.
One of those areas is Montclair Power.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that this saves a lot of stress on the power lines down there, because 5 homes with 5 pools, it's a lot of energy to be used. And it's being at the end of the line of the power line, there's a voltage drop, right? So we might. When you want to get
That much less.
You got 115, 114, which makes your motors run.
Yeah.
I'd just like to thank you.
Yeah. Yeah. I think this was a win-win for everybody.
Hi, I'm Lisa Pinto. I'm a homeowner on the island, and I was Grace's college roommate in 1985. So I want to thank the family because I've known her for since we were kids, and she's always been civic minded, and obviously that's a family trait. And I think it's an incredible thing they're doing for the island. So I would just, as an attorney, I would just ask the town, does the contract, I should ask the town attorney, ensure that there can be no sale by the town of this beautiful protected.
CPF fund has restrictions in there. The town could sell the land and then reinvest it in CPF fund at other lands, but it's never been even
And there's no
thought of.
ability to transfer development rights on this property. That's not something that could ever happen.
Well, the property's is going to be sterilized, so there'll be no future development, even if it's sold.
Great. My question, just in honor of this family, they've obviously.
Development rights.
But yeah, actually, what was on the record? What's the answer to that? The development rights can't be transferred on this property?
Pursuant to the deeds, the property will be sterilized, no further development, but the county has carved out and took one workforce housing development right per deed. So there's 4 deeds, right, Gal?
5.
5? 5. Okay, 5 deeds. So there'll be 5 development rights that are going to be housed by the county in their workforce housing program.
So can they sell those or transfer those or build with those on that property?
No. On that property, nothing can be built on that property, no matter. Okay.
I always protected her in power.
Okay. Can I ask Gordon a question?
Sure.
Yeah.
Hey, Gordon, can I ask you a question? So, like, we have to find at the end of the public hearing that this was the best alternative to preserve community character. And I just wanted you to get into that, because I know preserving the property in and of itself has all these environmental benefits, right? But the public is going to be able to, use it. So what is the vision of the CPF? Like, is it recreational use? Is it passive recreational use? Like, how is it going to be designed? What are the limitations? If you want to just talk about that and put it on there.
This all CPF property, we do not have any structures. We have no infrastructure. We don't have bathrooms, ball fields, anything like that. So it's really for passive recreation. This property, which I didn't have the map, but since I have it now, okay, you can look up in the right-hand corner. The white family was good enough to. That's actually, I think maybe I'm going to.
Parking here.
Can I come over here? Yeah. So, there are 3 reserves on the property that's here. So the lots that we're referring to is this one, there's 3 right here, and there's 2 across the street. This is the reserve area now. Nothing can ever be built on this reserve area A, okay? It really belongs to the homeowners association. And there's another reserve area C, and there's a reserve area B. Really, just to show you where the whites had come from and why they were so willing to help with this. The car, anybody who comes, the cars will be parked. We have a designated parking area here in reserve area B. Okay.
Well, and just for the public, that's right off Menantic.
Right off of Atlantic, okay, and you pull in, it's on the right-hand side, it'll be clearly marked, parking here, okay? And so as to make this really a wonderful park, okay? They were gracious enough to give us an easement so that we really extend our property by having a right of way walking through reserve area A, which is 10 acres, okay, to get to these 3 lots up here. So, I mean, it's hard, I probably didn't touch all the pluses and minuses and all the things we've gone through. I didn't even mention this. Yes, this is where I start to go off course. Okay, I have members of our CPF committee here. I have Ed Schillingberg, who is not on our committee, but he is on our committee and will always be on our committee. And Kathy Kenny is one of our CPF members. I have Tim Pertel here. We have a great group of people, okay? And I guess like everything, we can do the job. Just give me the tools and we can make it work.
Right.
Okay. And, but so our goal, okay, is really for passive use. And passive use, I mean, we're not, this is.
Well, passive use for the general public,
Okay.
what does that mean?
Right.
And if you could just, and even Jim, if you could, because you walked the property,
What is many times?
You know, what would you say is passive recreation?
Passive use to me, okay, is where it's a walking trail, right? It's a trail system, okay? This already exists, so there's nothing for us to do other than just maintain a guideline for them to walk through. So there's not a whole, it's just a walking trail. But when you come back to this point, okay, I don't think I have any other pictures here, but the vista looking out to Shell Beach, okay, is just magnificent. You can see all the way over to Noyak, okay, and it's right there on the water. Can kayakers come to the property? Absolutely, meaning that they can. We have a shoreline there. There are some fox that were, well, they were fox, okay, but along that one edge there. I mean, we have osprey, we have all egrets,
Great horn down, yes, and there.
right? We have. There is no piece of property. This was the best thing we could have ever done. And again, I think our committee is appreciative of the town participating with us. We took it. You guys took it over the finish line. Okay, it was a really important acquisition. This is something. Again, I'm just going to say that we're going to be really happy. Late years from now, when we're long gone, somebody's going to say, "Who was that guy?"
Yeah.
And they're going to say, "Well, Mr. Silla, the supervisor." Okay, but you know what I'm saying to you? It's precious piece. Okay, and you know, I'm going to do something special in the spring of next year, and I haven't discussed it with the folks that are here, but I want to do something special for the Whites in recognition of what they've done. We've done some of these things before at the Historical Society. Well, I'm not going to forget these folks, okay? And I hope they have all the Whites and the little Whites and everybody coming. So, did I answer your question, Stephen? I'm sorry.
Yes. Thank you very much for it.
And again, it seems like, well, why are we doing a public hearing all of a sudden? We probably should have been doing these all along and we didn't. So Tim, I know Tim Fratelli here. Tim's the kind of the local species expert on the board. Did you want to talk anything about the fauna or the flora or anything?
I mean, the shoreline is beautiful. It's a lot of very. As Gordon said, it's a fairly pristine property. Everything we're keeping it that way, so we never really got overrun invasive species. And then you walk around, there's beautiful trees in there, I mean, beautiful trees. And then you walk along the shorelines, huckleberry, blueberry. It's just really wonderful.
A couple of osprey nests that we put back up after they were knocked down, went right back up. I can tell you the people who live across the creek on Bayshore and all those people, they're ecstatic because I just stepped down as president of Silver Beach, but I will tell you those people were, they were praying, saying their prayers every night that this would come through because it is a beautiful view of that.
Contracts, when I saw them, there were a couple of wonderful chairs that were there. And I was promised that those chairs would go
With the property. Yeah, all right.
Hey, is that with the property or with?
Yes.
Again, we can't thank you enough.
Thank you very much.
My name's Bill Freiberg. I have the pleasure of being married to Carla White, and my sister-in-law, Grace White Borghetti, is here. I practiced law for over 40 years, and I did a lot of land use work. And I have to tell you, this is the friendliest public hearing I've ever attended. And I think that speaks very highly of the leadership of this board. Chairman Siller, the other members of the board, you brought this deal back from the dead. And I don't think any of us would be here tonight if you hadn't rolled up your sleeves and decided that this was a legislative priority for the town. I also want to echo Jim's comments about the efforts of your new town attorney. When Steve became involved in all this, the first thing he had to do was bring out a baseball bat and hit a few people in the head, including me. But in the ensuing weeks, he showed great perseverance. He was fair-minded and showed a very reasonable approach to helping us build a consensus among all the parties who had slightly different points of view about how this all should be done.
Right.
So Steve, it's been a pleasure working with you, and I know you look forward to never hearing from me again. But while giving credit to all the people in front of me, the man behind me,
Yes.
Gooding,
Yep.
is the person that the family is most grateful for. Gordon has been a good friend. He's been a relentless advocate for this deal, and he simply would not let it die
Right.
when other people were very pessimistic of things. So we owe a great debt of gratitude to
Right.
Gordon and all the people on the CPF for sticking with us through all this interesting times over the past few years. I would just like to remind the board that while your approval resolution tonight is an essential element of the transaction, we have one more set of hurdles left to jump, and that is in connection with the planning board. So anything you can do to help us get a special meeting scheduled and to address whatever reasonable concerns Ian McDonald and the member of his group may have, we would appreciate that. And
Thank you for
if there are any other issues or questions, not only tonight, but at any stage in the process, Steve knows how to get in touch with us, and we look forward to addressing questions, concerns, but most importantly, we look forward to that event next spring when Gordon can cut the ribbon and we can all celebrate a very important acquisition for the town.
Thank you. Thank
So
you.
thank you all very much. Thank you, Gordon.
Deadlines are essential, and the county gave us 7 days to get this done. I don't think people realize that. The main reason for that being is the county was going to withdraw those monies and put them to other projects. So that's when it really got our attention to get moving on this. We had 7 days to get this done. There was a slight extension of time, but it was that deadline that motivated everything to fall into place quickly. So thanks to the county for being reasonable here.
Anybody else? Okay, before we close the hearing, I just want one more thing I want to say is to use one of Jim's analogies. We took it over the half-yard line. Gordon got it down there. He went to 99.5 yards with the committee. The committee did a tremendous job, but Gordon took this upon, as you said, he took it upon himself, and it was took a lot out of him. It was, I know that from talking to him, from seeing him, a lot of frustration, a lot of, but it couldn't have been done without him. So again, Gordon, we all thank you and the committee very much. We're going to close that hearing.
Just one thing. Coco, can you lock the screen share, please? Thank you.
That's the last one? Okay, and now we will reconvene the public, we will reconvene the meeting. Okay, I'm gonna act on these.
I guess.
Meg, you want to close?
Sure. Whereas Errol English, 6G Hagar Road, has petitioned the town of Shelter Island for permission to remove existing ramp and 6-foot by 20-foot floating dock, install a new 32-foot by 32-inch by 20-foot aluminum ramp leading onto a new 6-foot by 20-foot floating dock section, repurposing existing 6-foot by 20-foot floating dock to form an L configuration.
John, can you just ask him
to take that conversation outside? Thank you. I'll say that. Bob, tell him not to say that line, Bob.
No control over it.
Don't have to go, but you can't stay here.
And reset existing 2 pilings and install 3-foot wide access stair on landward side of the existing dock. Now therefore, whereas a public hearing was duly held on the 26th day of July, 2022, for all interested persons to be heard in favor of or in opposition. Now therefore be resolved that pursuant to Part 617, Section 617.10 of the State Environmental Quality Review Act and Chapter 60 of the Code of the Town of Shelter Island, notice is hereby given by the town board as lead agency, has determined that the project will not have a significant effect on the environment and a draft environmental impact statement will not be prepared. environmental review status pursuant to Chapter 60 of the Town Code of the Town of Shelter Island, Type 2. Reasons for supporting this determination. The proposed bulkhead replacement, 1, will not cause an obstruction into navigable channels or an interference with navigation. 2, will not adversely affect the public's right to use town waters or land under town waters. 3, will not adversely affect shell fishing grounds or other aquatic wildlife which may exist in the immediate area. 4, will not adversely affect the quality of the tidal water, shoreline, or beaches. 5, will not adversely affect the rights of adjacent residents. And be it further resolved that the town clerk is hereby authorized to issue a permit for the aforementioned construction as per specifications filed after said applicant pursuant to the section 53-9 of the Code of the Town of Shelter Island has filed with the town clerk a certificate that the owner has at least $300,000 of liability insurance on the location and operations covered by said permit, a copy of the contractor's current home improvement contractor's license, and a certificate from the contractor performing the operations covered by said permit that said contractor has an owner's contractor's policy issued in favor of the Town of Shelter Island for the liability limits of at least $500,000 covering operations of the contractor pursuant to said permit, and be it further resolved that said operations shall be completed within 1 year from the date of issuance of this permit. Said permit is subject to the recommended limitation and any requirements that may be necessary under New York State Department of Environmental Conservation, the Army Corps of Engineers, and any other agencies having jurisdiction. So moved.
Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Whereas pursuant to New York State Law, Section 64E, parentheses 8, a public hearing was conducted on July 26, 2022, in connection with the potential acquisition of the County of Suffolk as a 50% partner of 20.1 acres between South Menantic Road and West Neck Creek, Shelter Island, New York, more specifically identified as Suffolk County Tax Back Number District 700-Section 22, Block 2, Lots 5.11, 5.12, 5.13, 5.15, and 5.16, known commonly as the White property for passive recreational use. Whereas the total purchase price of the subject parcels is $11,100,000, the town's contribution will be $5,550,000 to be paid with community preservation funds. Whereas the town board has determined that this acquisition is the best alternative for the protection of the community character for all reasonable alternatives available to the town, namely passive recreational use, and now therefore be it resolved that the town board approves the subject acquisition and the town supervisor is hereby authorized to sign and or execute any and all documents in connection with the purchase of White property consisting of 20.1 acres between South Menantic Road and West Neck Creek, Shelter Island, New York, or specifically identified as Suffolk County Tax Back Number District 700-2022, blocks 5.11, 5.12, 5.13, 5.15, and 5.16 for the protection of community character, specifically the establishment of a perpetual passive recreational area within the town. And be it further resolved that this resolution is hereby supersedes resolution number 503 of 2021. So moved.
Second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. At this time, we're going to open the meeting to the public. Anybody have anything they want to talk about? Anybody on Zoom? See if there's no hands on Zoom. Oh, there's one there. Bill Darrow. Bill?
Yes, good evening, everybody. I was not able to be on the work session this afternoon. I had to work, so I understand there were some issues raised by the town board as to the Friends of Cockles Harbor ads in my letter. I would love to sit down with town board members, as would the rest of the Friends of Cockles Harbor, and discuss our questions and our issues at any time. I mean, obviously, as to work in people's schedules, but I think we feel like we've not had the opportunity to do that. The opportunity to make statements of 3 minutes or less is not really the opportunity to have discourse. And I would reiterate the points in my letter, which is that we should have large town hall meetings in the school auditorium or someplace similar to that. We'll advertise weeks in advance where we are encouraging strongly people to come and hear from you all as to what the plans are. We don't know what the plans are. We just hear statements here and there at meetings. We hear people talking on the streets, and I think we all want to know what the plans are. So I guess the request is please let's set up a real dialogue with all of you. I appreciate Council Member Larson and Councilor Yanfola's constructive approach. The last CPAC meeting we had last Monday night, I think, I'm forgetting when we are in person. But I think we all want to work together to a constructive outcome here. But I think numbers feel like we're not really getting the opportunity to interact. So I would respectfully request that of all of you, and let's find a time to sit down and interact. It can be one-on-one at the Islander, or it can be, I think, better, or maybe in combination with some larger meetings where the broader public is able to come and ask questions.
Bill, I think it would be appropriate to have your committee come to a work session, ask to, be on the agenda, and we'll put you on the agenda, and we'll, give you your time to talk.
And I want to say this, I have the utmost respect for people who step up and serve in public office. For someone who ran for a very narrow office, there were only 447 voting members. It was exhausting. So all of you who've done this, I commend you for doing it. And I've done it for multiple times. I commend you for that, and we'll put your names out there. I don't mean any disrespect to any of you in what we have done, but we just like to talk to you. And Supervisor Siller, we would be happy to come speak to you, and or Member Culligan, we can talk after Mass sometime.
Can I make a recommendation here? I love the idea. I would love to be able to know exactly kind of the parameters of the talk so that we can utilize our time to the best. So I think initially I would be in favor of maybe one or two.
I don't agree, Jim. I would like to invite the group to hear, and I would like to address the 2-page ad. And I'd like to go over it line by line, what you said and what we said and what the reality is. I think that's the best way to do it.
And just something you just said there, Mr. Durrell, about the plan. We all, what's the plan? There's rumors, you talk on the street. There is no plan. That's what we're doing right now, is creating the plan with the public. So if that's the main point of the agenda, we don't have a plan. We're waiting for a housing plan to be developed in conjunction with the consultants and the public input to come up with the plan. But there are all kinds of issues around that we could talk about that I think productively.
Well, but I would respectfully disagree that, at least in sequencing, I would come up with the plan first before I enabled sewer treatment or wastewater treatment plants, before I enabled TDRs and stripped development rights from the CPF. I would first have a true comprehensive plan that was broadly informed, as we suggest in our letter. So
yeah, I think this would be good to discuss at a work session. We'll make it an agenda item, and we'll discuss all of this.
Okay.
Okay, Jan, you have to come up.
Sorry, just Super. If we could, at least if we do that, please give us plenty of notice in advance, so it's not, I think at the last CPAC meeting.
We'll schedule it. You tell me which Tuesday works for you, and we'll schedule it.
Yeah. Before you leave, I just want to go on record as saying that I don't think that taking those articles and going back and forth.
Not articles.
Well,
not articles. They're statements put in the paper that need to be addressed.
They are, but I don't want to start on a negative note It happened today, and I don't want to go tip the cat back and forth.
Jim, it's not a negative note.
No, I
These are
just,
statements that were made, and let's see, what,
I get it.
why, where the factual part came from. What's not factual, as BJ said, we're developing a plan. Let's get it all out in the
I
open.
just don't go on record as saying that I just want it to be more fruitful than that. I want some rules and some rules to follow. I want it to be constructive in nature. And I'm not looking at trying to go back and rehash he versus you or us versus them. I just don't think it's fruitful. So I'm just on record as saying that you'll do whatever the board would like to do, but I would like it to be much more constructive. And I think you can be very, I think if we outline the purpose of the meeting and the parameters of the meeting and the rules that you establish, it can be very productive. I do. But I don't think if you don't do any of those three things and you come in and we have here's what you said, back and forth. I just don't, personally, I don't see where it's going to be as productive as it could
Jim,
be. It's a difference of opinion, Jerry.
It is a difference of opinion.
Okay, I
And
got it.
the last thing I'm going to say is, this was put out there in the public.
Yeah.
So let's address it. Let's not pretend it didn't happen. Let's not pretend there's all
I'm
these
not
facts
pretending it
that
didn't
aren't
happen.
facts. Let's address it.
But in my mind, there's questions, right? They have legitimate questions and they put it in the ad. That could serve as the agenda. That could serve as the guidepost for the meeting.
Right.
So that's all.
John?
Yeah, I just would like to add a few words to what Bill said, that we did try to reach the committee, in particular the two members who are sitting on a CPAC. I don't want to talk about in public what channel we use, but we're told that those members were busy and they'll let us know when they will be available. That never came. So it's not like we immediately jumped to the publishing ad. We did try to reach, okay?
You never tried to reach, through the town board, you didn't try to reach us.
I have my experience. The other issue is, so we don't have really a channel to pass our concerns and the issues, and those are serious issues which deserve serious discussion. Okay, so we would like to ask, to have a meeting either with the board, or we're happy to speak in public, but not in a format where we have 3 minutes to say something and that's it. Okay, so we need to sit down and maybe the town board.
If we invite you to a work session, you'll be on the agenda and it won't be 3 minutes. We'll be discussing your agenda.
Those are serious issues, and those are the issues which we collected from a group of our supporters, and we would like to sit down and discuss those issues. Why are you planning to strip development rights? What are you planning to do with them? Why are you developing the TDR program, which is the program to enable high density?
We'll discuss all this.
That's great. So
Yeah, you're part of the same group
yes,
or a different?
no, the Friends of Public.
Okay.
Okay.
You have both of the you're gonna ask to do one, you have to do them all.
That's fine. That's fine. And we have to get the pro housing people in. So the Hispanic community, all of those people.
And environment. Let's not be shouting match.
Patrick, I'll put to you, what we're putting to them is, if your group just asked to be on the agenda, and we'll set something up.
We'll spread it out there.
I think you can do it so you'll feel more comfortable by looking at the groups. They're similar, but looking at different parts of it, and whatever is most convenient for you to put it together that way. In the general session.
They can't hear you. They can't hear you.
Don't have a sound like.
Yeah.
You saw
it to come up.
Well, we heard. I was gonna say it again.
That's only, and if you're not going to have a pre-meeting, then if both parties could state some of the parameters that they're looking to discuss.
No, there should be an agenda.
Yeah, correct.
There are other issues like the groups like this that are not involved, like the water issue, on Bay, Country Club, Big Future, new requests coming in. We're working with different people some of your people, which these people are not involved in. But they're, as you know, Ben and I, they're all connected. So I would say if you're gonna put it together, it'd be most convenient. Put an agenda together, you're satisfied, you're covering everything, so you don't do one and then all of a sudden you're back doing another and, yeah.
I just don't think we can cover everything in one meeting.
No,
We got 5 groups.
I agree. I would get the topic.
That's a really good idea, Matt.
A lot of concerns are common with.
Right. Fine. No, you're right, Jan. I think if we have an agenda, if this is what we're gonna talk about, it doesn't just have to be the Friends of Cockles Harbor. It could be any group.
I don't mind if it's joint meeting or.
Right.
We can,
Now let's discuss, it's laid on the table. We can explain
Right.
what your vision is.
Yep.
Why? Because we want to see pieces of it. I would suggest that either myself or someone reach out to each leadership from each group. Come get together, come up with a global agenda, break it up into like 2 or 3 meetings, and we'll handle it that way. Just
That was basically what I was trying to get at, a while ago. That was where I was coming from. I just didn't want it open-ended and rehashing. It's a waste of time.
Yeah.
Gotta be more positive.
And also, side comment, I listened to the 3 o'clock meeting and it would be really, really helpful if the agendas were posted 24 hours in advance and all the materials.
That's always the goal.
We had issues this past 10 days with staffing.
Tremendous thickness.
I've been watching council meetings and not just council meetings, various other committees meetings for a while. And this happens over and over again. The agenda for 6 o'clock meeting showed up during the 3 o'clock meeting, It's supposed to be posted 24 hours earlier. Maybe the letter of the law is you don't have to, but the spirit of the law. No, and the town board wants to do that, without a doubt. But we had very legitimate staffing from this time. Like you may have gripes with other, but this particular one, there's legitimate staffing issues that we have to deal with. Fine, but like I say, it's happening over and over again and we're surprised. So I just was the 3 o'clock meeting by accident.
Look at how old we all are. There's always going to be staffing issues. No, I'm just kidding.
So I would just like to ask the board, really make an effort.
It is our
Put
goal.
everything up there 24 hours. If something new comes out, put it to another meeting. Don't wait with the agenda till the last meeting and we.
Well, we certainly didn't want to put off the white purchase to another. We certainly did not want to put off the white purchase to another meeting. That we wanted to do.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Julia?
Yeah, just
Julie,
one last comment. Member Jan Fola.
Could you just wait 1 second? There's somebody at the podium.
Sure.
So Julia Brennan, and not as the representative of the Shelter Island Gazette, but just as a resident of Shelter Island. And as somebody who has served in a similar capacity to you people and dealt with issues that had a lot of contentious viewpoints around them, I would ask you to consider what message you're sending to the community at large if you set up a comprehensive plan review committee. You assign people to the job of reviewing the comprehensive plan. You have multiple opportunities for people, any people, whether they have money to advertise their opinions or not, to come forward and say, here's what I think about, name your topic, housing or natural resources or cultural history or TDRs, whatever it is you want to talk about, there's places for people to talk about in there. And then you set up a community housing fund advisory board and you task that committee with putting together a community housing plan. If I were on the community housing advisory board and I found out that the town board had responded to people who wrote letters that included unfactual information and that they were going to sit down with the town board directly to talk about issues that I'm supposed to be working on. My
blood, sweat, and tears.
My goal is to gather input. I don't believe there's input that is so special that it has to go through the town board first. I think everybody's input is equal. There isn't anybody that I've heard speak who doesn't have an opportunity
to go to a community housing board meeting, to
CPAC.
go to a community comprehensive plan meeting, and advertised or available, you can write volumes to these entities. They will incorporate your comments in their research. And even if it ends up in just an index in the back because other people don't agree with you, it can be published. But the idea that there's some group of people out there who can advocate loud enough that suddenly the town board is going to set aside time from its very busy schedule to say, we don't trust our CPAC committee, we don't trust our FAB people to do their jobs that we ask them to do, and we're gonna do this up here. I object to that on behalf of people who aren't here to speak.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank
Julia.
you very much.
Okay.
I think we need to discuss this among ourselves at the work session on Tuesday.
I happen to agree with Julia.
I do too.
I think that we've made it very easy for people to comment on the CPAC and what we're doing in comprehensive plan. And I think that the
Community
CPAC
housing.
group has done the same exact thing.
Yeah.
We're using the same setup, very
Here's the problem.
simple to put it on.
Here's the reality.
He's trying to counter the falsehoods.
Avenue is available for that to happen.
Yeah.
It's clearly not happening. We're getting 5 full-page ads in the paper stating these things. But I feel most of them are falsehoods. So I think we need, as a town board, to address these. When I don't think we're sidestepping the housing board or the comprehensive plan, they're more than welcome to attend the meetings. But I think it's been put out there and we need to address it. That's my feeling. We just said Tuesday, we'll talk about it.
I want to talk about it thoroughly on Tuesday.
Yeah.
I'm a little crabby right now.
A little hangry. Yeah, I mean, but we're also getting the same exact feedback in the comprehensive plan and in the housing. So this,
We're hearing it.
I hear you, Jerry. I get it.
Yeah. Okay, Bill?
So I just want to make a point to member Yanfola. I'm going to pronounce it the Napolese way. Is that you mentioned let's have the pro housing. We're not anti-housing. We are not anti-community housing. We just want to know what the plan is. We want to know what the impact's going to be. We want a broad study, first part. And to the woman who spoke last, we all don't have the opportunity through our day to go to every committee meeting. There are a lot of committees in this town. I was flabbergasted how many committees there are to attend every committee meeting, advisory committee, and the CPAC meeting, and the work sessions, and this and that. The average citizen does not have the time to do that. I'm sorry. They do not. And so, saying that that's all there, I'm sorry, people do not. And I object to her statement that it's all so easy for everyone to do. If you're a reporter and that's your job, great. That's your job to attend these meetings. It's not the average citizen's job. They have work to do.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else? Okay, I'm going to make a motion.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Thanks, everybody.